Hi, welcome to this edition of Spock Home Tools. In this edition, we'll be covering Stream Helper, which helps you with your stream content, collecting off of your Facebook stream page. So what we will do is we're going to go ahead and launch the Stream Helper. And I'm going to go ahead and take a few minutes and try to explain the different parts of the Stream Helper app. As you can see, there's lots of configuration on this particular page. Things of note are the hours to load, or the number of hours that you're going to go ahead and run for the Stream Helper. These can be in increments of 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.5 for 30 minutes. It also shows you the last time you've actually run the Stream Helper. In this particular case, I ran it 14 hours ago. The posts per request is tied to the amount of posts that are called in each Facebook request against the Facebook query engine. The higher you set this, the less likely it is to work. 100 seems to be a reasonable number. The delay interval is the amount of seconds between each check of the Stream Helper, and the experience before level is just an option to go ahead and have the Stream Helper stop before you actually level up. And so you would see up here the experience to level. If you set this at like 100, when your experience to level up hits 100, the bookmarklet would stop. You have an option to go ahead and reverse the list, so you can do the newest jobs first instead of the oldest. We recommend the oldest so that when you rerun the bookmarklet a second time, it goes ahead and it kind of picks up where you've last left off time-wise. As permissions, if you've run this for the very first time, you need to check this and go ahead and allow Facebook to have permissions to access your stream. This option may not be quite as necessary as it was when the bookmarklet first came out, since we now use a little bit different query model to get the information off of the Facebook streams. Auto start is when the bookmarklet scans and finds the number of posts. It will automatically go ahead and start the initial stream reading the information. And then you have your options as far as what you want it to do. So you can scan for achievements, you check the checkbox. Bonuses, these are robbery, boost, holiday specials, completed chop shops, etc. And you would just check that. Now we have an option for loyalty points. It's in there, but as Martin notes, it's untested at this point. And you can scan for boss jobs, and you can scan for jobs. When you choose to scan for jobs, obviously you get a slew more options, and I'll scroll down here just a little bit so we can bring that into focus. And you can see scanning for New York jobs you can do for all jobs. You could do for certain certain levels of the different areas, and so on. And so we have laundering, money laundering jobs. You can search for loot jobs, secret stashes, building parts. And so this is to send chop shop, weapons, depot, and armory parts. The nice part about it is when you send an item to your mafia, you usually get one in return. Then you can send Vegas building parts, and the same thing applies. And you can search for burner phones. And as Martin points out, it's a manual collection, and I'll explain that a bit when we get into actually running the bookmarklet. And then you can search for crew jobs, also a manual process, and you can scan for wars. Again, these things that we've made manual are by design. We've tried to stay away from automating our bookmarklet too much, and so we do require some manual intervention to do certain types of things. Now, one of the key features, and most people will do this when they actually launch the bookmarklet the first time, will click the quick tick. And what quick tick does is it will go ahead and pick the most common settings for the bookmarklet. It defaults to the number of hours to load, 6. It's going to go ahead and do 100 posts at a time. The time will be 4 to 6 seconds, and then it picks all the options that you're going to want to scan for. And so those are all the ones by default, and it picks certain boss jobs from the different cities. And since Vegas is so new, we've also included all of the Vegas jobs. As with many of our bookmarklets, we also have a debug option. If you want to go ahead and turn that on, you get to see some pop-up results of what's kind of happening. And this comes in handy from time to time, and Martin or I would ask for some assistance in kind of debugging. We might ask the community to turn this on just so we can get some feedback. So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm only going to knock this down to about 2 hours, so I don't have a tremendous amount of long time for this to scan. And so what you're going to see is, and what I feared might happen, is I immediately got no matching links were found. Now, in most cases, what I have found to cause to be the issue with regard to this is that Facebook has lost its session, and it causes this kind of error. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and relaunch. I'm going to close down my browser windows, relaunch Facebook, and go ahead and bring the bookmarklet back up again. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to take a second here, and I'm going to relaunch Facebook and log back in, and I'll be back in a second with the bookmarklet reloaded. Hold on, please. Okay, so we're back, and what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and reload StreamHelper. So give me a moment here. My browser is being a bit persnickety. And so now I've reloaded it. I'm going to go ahead and do the quick tick again. And I'm going to go ahead and choose a 2-hour window. I'm going to go down to scan and scroll back up. And now, as you can see, I've reloaded Mafia Wars, closed my browser, did all that, and now I'm starting to get posts again. So for those that have complaints that it's not showing me posts and so on and so forth, then this is always a good method to, we'll call this the Bill Gates method. It'll be a Windows restart to get you back to where you need to be. So in a second here, it'll read these number of posts, and what this is doing is it's actually looking at your Facebook wall page for posts that relate to Mafia Wars. And so it's looking one right after another, and it's collecting all those posts up, and hopefully it won't take too terribly long, as we're looking at only looking at a 2-hour window. But depending on how active your wall has been will depend on the number of posts that it might bring in. And so my guess would be we'd probably see maybe somewhere around 1,700 posts, and then it'll start running. So we'll see how close I am, and actually I might be off, but we'll see. So while we're waiting for this to happen, this will check, and on note on this page is it shows you the last time that this is ran. So obviously, if this timer seems to be way off or has remained stagnant for an extreme amount of time, then something's gone wrong in the process, and it would make sense again to just shut down and bring the bookmarklet back up again. So here we are, closing in on 1,400, 1,500. And I was close. 1,600 posts. Of it found 841 that were what they considered interesting. Now, the results page here, actually what it does is it will show you the amount of money and experience gained from each of the posts it checks, and then it shows you the jobs that have been done, the number of the actual jobs, and then it shows you any limits that have been reached. And a while back, Mafia Wars implemented about 25 helps per city. So for example, I've already reached the limit on Bangkok, which means I've done 25 jobs already for Bangkok. Now I can, as I gain loot, the loot would show up under this section here. If I want to see the achievement links, I can see, here's the achievements that I would be getting and the Mafia Wars links to those achievements. And then of note too, especially when we talk about the build item or the burner phones or things that you have to do manual intervention on, you actually have to click, and then it will open up the links for you to actually click on to get those particular burner activities, or some of the other things when you talk about secret stashes. So if I wanted to collect the secret stash, I would actually have to go out and click on the actual link to get those. But for the most part, the nice part about the utility is it does a great job of going out and collecting all this stuff up in one nice place, and then at that point we'll do some routine tasks as far as trying to do some helps on some jobs and so on and so forth. So as you can see, I did one Moscow job and I was late on 2 jobs, so that's why I only got $1,000 for each of the 2 jobs I was late on. I did get 14 experience points, and as it starts plugging through all 841 posts, I'll start gathering some activity, and at the same time obviously helping my friends and family in Mafia Wars that need some help. So this will be this episode of Spock Home Tools. As always, Spock on, and we'll talk to you again in the future with another tool. Thanks very much. Bye.